Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your co-host, Ryan Houlihan.
I'm Jason.
Hi, I'm Summer Bishil.
I'm Ian Carlos Crawford. And today we are joined by a very special guest. He is the co-host of Coffee and Tequila and has his YouTube channel, Alastair Reviews It.
Alastair, and here's my husband who is currently on the toilet.
So Zachary can't join us today, and Alastair so graciously volunteered to fill in for his husband. But we're here to discuss the Angel Season 1 finale to Shanshu in LA. Guys, we finally made it to the finale. I feel like we did this pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, that kind of sped by.
Right, yeah. Alastair, this is your first time talking Angel on Slayerfest 98. Give us your Angel origin. Did you start from the beginning, or...?
I did start from the beginning. I just remember being psyched after finding out that there was a spinoff, and then started buying the DVDs. And I remember because I purposely made the point of watching one Buffy episode and then trying to watch the other one based on how they were coming out, but then they started getting out of order, and it just became a whole issue. So I just watched it through. But I love it. I love it.
And Alastair, I have to thank you for me and you are the ones working on Zachary, because it has been rough for him getting through Angel. But you have been telling him it does get better, right?
Yeah, that first season, it'll do it to you.
Yeah, the first season has gems. It definitely has gems. And I really love a lot of the first season, especially as Zachary's rewatching it. But sometimes he'll ask me for Cliff Notes, and I'll say, no, you got to watch it yourself.
I think the first season has a lot of really wonderful things. It's just that Angel has a lot of stuff going on, and it doesn't showcase everything that everybody likes about the show. Yeah. It showcases like some of the things I really love, great, but not like everything. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the same for Buffy, but that the things it did showcase are more crowd pleasers than the things that Angel was showcasing. I've said showcase a lot, but I really like the first season, and I think it's great. It's just, it's easy to make fun of. There are big stinkers in there.
Yeah.
And it's a pivot from Buffy too, in terms of tone and everything. Because now we're in Angel's whole area, and the only kind of brightness of Buffy that we have is Cordelia.
That's
always nice.
I was even thinking how different it was, just like the blowing up of the office. Like that's like something Buffy, right? Like they blow up the school and it is a big thing, but this is like season 1, we're exploding the office. Yeah. And like the explosion doesn't look bad, right? Like they work with it.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I can show you modern explosions that do not look that good.
Yeah.
They took a loan from the Buffy budget.
Yeah.
For that.
I actually looked that up on BBC. It says that producer David Greenwalt revealed that Angel Investigations was blown up during the episode because the sets were too cramped to film in, and they wanted a bigger set for season 2.
I had that same note for when we got to the explosion, because I thought that was interesting.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. But right, I do think that's interesting that they blew it up just because they were like, let's do a new set. This is too crowded.
They do that in real business too. They just use insurance.
Yeah, you know what? Yes. Much like real life.
Summer, as someone who has starred in a genre show, do you think is it more common with genre shows, you think, that they're like still finding their footing?
With genre shows?
Yeah.
I feel like the genre show I was on knew exactly what it was going to do.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah. Like Sarah Gamble knew what she was doing from the get-go. I don't think there was any confusion there. Actors didn't feel confused either. I mean, there was a clear tone.
Yeah.
That was going to be developed. But we had a major set shift season 2. But, and the actors didn't know about it, but I think the creators did. They built the entire throne room season 2. We didn't have that season 1. It was all break bills all the time.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there was an entire new stage that was like a fucking castle. So the show did expand in a huge way. So I feel like an expansion of a show makes sense after its successful freshman year.
Yeah.
World expansion.
Yeah, the world building, mounting a world so that the audience understands the rules and stuff is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of shows are not good at it. And I think it's funny because The Magicians is a specific show that did do it kind of perfect stick the landing. But I think for most shows, it's I mean, it's kind of similar in video games too, right? Like you have to establish so much stuff. So the sequel or season 2 is where all the boundaries are built so you can color in the lines, which is when you get like really like the vision, you know?
Yeah. You can have like some fucking fun season 2.
Yeah.
And also like they needed a better set. Like I love the hotel.
Yes, same.
I loved it. I felt like the whole world just opened up when they got to the hotel.
The hotel told me who Angel was, but not in like a literal sense, like in an emotional sense. It's an empty hotel. Like that tells you a lot about who he is when he starts like taking people in and stuff. And an office, like a strip mall office in the middle of LA it wasn't giving that.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, I still miss The Office a little bit. Like just watching season 1, it just felt cozy, and he had this little lair downstairs and his like elevator. It
also
cozy.
like I feel like it also just it much like the show though, it's like the struggle to get off the ground, and then you know and then the hotel was such a great upgrade.
You go from your like Skid Row apartment to your like, I mean, this is like in the 90s vision of things, to your like fixer upper, like, oh, I'm gonna improve, I'll do the hard backbreaking work house or whatever. And then I guess eventually you've got corporate the tower in the sky. I stand on the small people for the greater good.
So we open the episode right where, as Jason mentioned before recording, we did a blind date together, and it picks up right after that episode, which is weird because, right, Jason, that episode doesn't feel like it should be pivotal.
Yeah, but when we were talking the last, it's like the end really is just like, yeah, why wasn't this the whole episode? But it moves fast. Like, and this episode gets right into it, and like how much it gets into, and then it's just like, oh, now the credits are what? Like, we're already halfway through the episode.
And I like that we like opened their like still decoding the scrolls that they got. Cordelia wants to know if there's anything about her in the prophecy.
With how quick it picks up, though, do we know? Like, I mean, you probably know. I obviously wouldn't. Like when it was aired, were they like? Was it like a two episode series finale or season finale?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it was.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah,
because it like really picked up quick. Like it would be a super long episode.
Yeah. But so like, and it is weird that. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, we really do plant, like, this finale is pretty important moving forward. You know, we've got the Shanshu prophecy introduction. We've got the, like, Darla. We build up Wolfram and Hart. I mean, this is, like, the back half of this season, like, the last third. They really were like, oh, Wolfram and Hart works better when we do have a set cast of lawyers. And it does, right? Like, I think, like, having Lindsay and Lila and then, like, Holland as the head, like, kind of nondescript boss man, it just works better, right? Because we know these characters, we like.
Well, the first season felt very much like sometimes on Real Housewives they have a bunch of open slots for housewives, but they don't know who's going to be good or not, so they do a season with tons of quote unquote friends of people who just keep showing up on the show, and it's clearly an audition. And I think like some of the lawyers they were cycling through, they were like seeing who worked and who didn't for long-term casting, and like I think I like that Buffy and Angel do a lot of that. Like a lot of the people who became Buffy's long-term characters were there because they kind of worked in a 2-episode episode. I mean, it's sometimes against Joss Whedon's will. And I think that was a kind of a smart move for the first season to be like, there's lots of lawyers, and then find a couple that we like watching.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's lawyers and cops, because Kate, oh my gosh. True. I felt like Kate just fell off after a while. And we never actually actually talked about why she's like gone from the show.
I just don't think it ever worked. I don't think it ever vibed.
There was no reason.
No, it bugged me from day one. I mean, the actress is great.
Yeah.
I want to keep reiterating that because I hate Kate.
Right.
She's charming. She seems sweet.
I just feel like they were like, we need this like cop energy.
Yeah.
And like they realized that wasn't the direction the show was going to go.
They were like, oops, we don't need this energy. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how are we going to explain all of Wolfram and Hart when the cops only show up when they want? You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't make sense.
To be corrupt, and then they're their own thing you have to deal with, and I just don't think the tone is right. And then you've got legal stuff to deal with on top of like lawyers can be fun villains if you don't have to get into court, because then it's a court show no matter what you do.
Right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, and so we see we get them going through the scrolls. We get Wolfram and Hart. It's Lila, Lindsay, and Holland. They're there. It looks like it's literally like on the lawn in front of Wolfram and Hart, right? That they're raising this demon. This demon,
like hello.
It looks like it's UC Sunnydale. I was telling Zach, I was like, this looks like it's UC Sunnydale.
Where's Kate for this? You know.
So this demon, I kind of love that it's like very heavy-handed Grim Reaper, like. That's what he's supposed to look like. Sure. Like he's got the fucking scythe. He's got the hooded cloak. It's very silly. But before that, I forgot. This beginning is pretty long.
It is.
Cordelia also shows them that in the news, which is, Ryan, do you know, or Alastair, it's weird that Wolfram and Hart is in the news, like a newspaper headline, right? Or is that something that they had been doing this season? I don't remember.
I don't remember seeing anything like that this season.
Right?
I think that this was another one of those things that like they were like trying out, you know, like as an option. I also think it kind of doesn't work. It's like, why is the news reporting on this company? It was strange. And it's it's also not like they get an obscure business paper about lawyers or something.
Right.
That would kind of make sense. And especially if Cordelia had been like, well, I subscribed to it to keep tabs on them, obviously. You know what I mean? Like that would have been kind of funny. But I also forgot about it immediately because who cares? It's the 90s, whatever.
True.
Yeah, I definitely forgot about that.
So she shows them that. They learn that Lindsay has kind of not done his redemption thing. I do like how muted the gang is here because they're like fucking exhausted, and that's understandable that they would be exhausted after the year they had. We see David Nabbit come in again for one of his final appearances. I really do think this character would have worked as like a nerdy reoccurring character.
Another person I think they were auditioning as reoccurring people, as was Gunn.
Yeah,
I think he could have been a great financial backer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or for a season, they take his money and they think like, yeah, this will be great. Oh no, sorry. I'm thinking about this as like nowadays, it would be so great to have a guy come in and give you money as like an quote unquote angel investor for an episode. And then like the strings that come with that money, even if he's well-intentioned. And then you've got a whole thing about the tech industry. That could have been fun. But I also realized that like, I don't think they realized what they had on their hands. They were just like, we've got geeky enough stuff going on. We don't need another geek. You know?
Zach, so I tried to watch with Zach. He kept on having to go to the restroom. But he was like, who is he again? I was like, he's one of the tech billionaires. Think Elon Musk, but not evil.
Well, I did read that they actually did want him to be reoccurring, but because that actor was he's one of those like character actors that was in like everything back then.
Yeah.
And that he actually just could not fit Angel into his schedule. So they just stopped writing the character.
Damn. Could you imagine you get so many guest role offers that you're like, I will not take a recurring character on a network show.
So we get all that. They like, it's so weird that that's it. Like he's just there and he's like, I want to hang out, and then he leaves. And
I really was just like, I know, like I was like, there was not a point, but I guess the auditioning thing, I guess makes sense. Like, you know, is it gonna work? Is it not gonna work?
Yeah.
But also all of this before the credits.
Right. Yes.
We bring up the main thing, which is like he has no connection to the world or whatever. I was like, what? It's like, that was crazy.
So post credits, we cut back to Angel Investigations. David leaves. Wes is like reading about the prophecy. He translates. So by the end, we realize he translated it wrong, but he translates one of the words. It's that the one word means that like Angel will like eventually die, right?
Yeah,
that he becomes human and he will die naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was a big bomb. I was like, I can't believe I didn't know that was on the table.
Well, yeah. Because it's like that plays a big part in season 5, too.
Especially with Spike and Angel, it plays a huge role.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, like watching this, I was like, I don't really remember what the end of season 1 looked like. Whereas like I remember every single season finale, but season 1 was a little fuzzy to me. And then I was like, oh, Shanshu. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was the one that I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Which is funny because when I Googled it, it had all these amazing reviews and it is a spectacular episode. And I think because I walked away in my mind, oh my God, Darla's back. And I immediately forgot every fucking thing.
I think that was it. It was like, fuck it, Darla.
I remembered this episode because I remember it getting so intense. I was like, this is nothing like Buffy, because Ian was walking me through the shows at the same time. And like at the end of the season, like I'm just like, well, what's gonna happen now? Is everyone dead? Like I just thought everyone was gonna die by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
They do like it is intense, and they do a lot with only having 3 characters. Like, right? Like we only have our 3 main characters, but they give them each their own like fucking catastrophe.
Yeah.
They're kind of introducing Gunn in a way, except that they don't really introduce him to the rest of the gang until the next season. He's just like they're watching them sleep.
I think they gave us some of those little like wink moments of the like you're going to be watching me sleep. Or like I think they gave us some of those because at the time the internet forums were starting to really go crazy about Buffy and Angel, and I think the like winks were to be like, okay, make 1,000 threads about what you would like from Gunn as a character. You can inform us on who that could be.
So we Cordelia gets a vision of a slime demon, which I love that it's so nondescript. We don't even see it. This bit feels like Charmed to me.
This literally was just to bring Kate in.
Yes, absolutely. Angel, like, we don't even see him fight this demon. He just goes and it's fine. And I love, okay, I'm going to be a little, Kate looks like she has the flu in this episode. Like, I don't know if it's that they style her weird, but like her hair looks like she has great hair, but it looks like flat and she looks like paler. I wasn't sure if they were trying to be like, look, she's very strung out, or if like, maybe she was just sick, right? Like that can happen.
I was about to say, Kate always has great hair.
Yeah, she normally does.
But do we think though that it was kind of like pointing to the fact that like she doesn't know how to deal?
Yeah.
She's coming apart.
Yeah, like ever since like Angel like, kind of revealed himself, it's just like she doesn't know what to do. Like that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
So and it's weird because like I feel like we're really supposed to care about the Kate storyline, but like
I know.
I don't.
Yeah.
And I really want to, but I don't. It just I don't feel for it. Like I know that her father died and she's being introduced to a whole new world of evil when she's supposed to be a cop. Battling evil in her own way, but like, I don't care.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And like, I feel like it's very annoying the fact that she continually blames Angel for her father's death, even though she knows Angel didn't kill her father. Like,
yes.
I don't, Summer, what do you think? I don't know.
I just feel like it's incongruent. I feel like it's not melded with the overall show. Like it's just like this sore thumb. And I don't think it's the actress's fault. I think it's just I think it's like a different show.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it's there in that way because I probably think when they were pitching another vampire genre show in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had to pitch it with the intent of it feeling and looking like a standard procedural, a standard legal or like cop procedural. And her presence sort of like ensured that if this overall concept and relatively like new actor and genre didn't do the trick and survive, that it could then become this like sort of like more procedural, like we solve a crime episodically and the supernatural elements sort of like go to the background. I think it was like they were like doing a gamble and that was like their insurance or something.
See, I felt the same way, but that maybe Kate exists as a backstop if they didn't know what to do with Angel as a character, because she is a blonde, young law enforcement type with big eyes and like daddy issues. Like it makes an easy Buffy replacement if you run out of things to do, but oh my God, don't work with a net because you will use it. Like, just don't let me see you use a net. Like, how about that?
Yeah. It felt like something like the network like needed to see. Or
Yeah.
because I could see how it would have been difficult to pitch yet another vampire show without like what they probably perceived to be the reason it was successful. Buffy.
Right. Yeah.
Like, because he had been on Buffy and he was really exciting on that show, but like he hadn't carried a series before.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my head, I imagine like David Greenwalt at a whiteboard being like, okay, so it's Angel Investigations.
Yeah.
What is going to be linked to this? Okay, law enforcement, lawyers. You know, if we have a cop, we need another blonde-haired love interest. So let's circle that twice, and then you come up with Kate. And I feel like I do like Kate. I think Elizabeth Rom. I think she does a great job, but I just there wasn't really any chemistry between them two.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And it was unclear if they were even supposed to. It was like, sometimes I was like, I'm unclear if they're even supposed to have chemistry at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I think Kate's charisma, this is so many layers deep. Kate's charisma is rooted in this like sort of like secretive sexuality. Like when she's in the club episode, she's at her best because she's like a little bit of a minx and she's a little naughty. But like a cop isn't going to act like that, especially a woman cop. You don't want to see that kind of representation in the late 90s, early 2000s. We wanted women to be as professional as men and not to be put in situations that would make them uncomfortable on camera. Like we were trying so hard to do this weird version of feminism that Kate couldn't access that part of her personality. So you just had this like automaton in some scenes, then like this like sex kitten-y like for like a couple moments, and so you always have this memory that you don't hate her but you can't remember why. And whereas Buffy's chemistry with him and her charisma came from more like of a spunk, and that's fun with like a law enforcement type. But I don't know. I just think Kate didn't work, and they knew that from the beginning, and they should have ditched her instead of ditching Doyle.
It's so weird when you consider a lot of the female characters in the Buffyverse and how like we approach them both as like professionals, but also like as individuals and like humans. And we even have Cordelia transition into here, and we have Fred later, who is a 3-dimensional character, whereas Kate, we kind of like keep her as like a 2-dimensional character as a cop. It's weird.
They thought that dead stuff was doing something that it wasn't.
Yeah. I also think she would have made like a really excellent antagonist. Like I think when they saw that it wasn't working in the capacity that they were utilizing her character, I think transitioning her into like a really a really great antagonist, like somebody getting closer to the truth. Like sometimes she played with that, like I know, and then she finds out she's a vamp, and like, but like somebody running more interference, like really making their lives like fucking difficult, and her being like a fucking like kind of a bitch would have been more interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if they didn't do that, and that is 100% true. I love it. That's now canon to me that was a possibility that they didn't do. But I wonder if they didn't do it because, and this, again, we don't need to get welled into the political waters. The LAPD is very connected in the Hollywood like circles, and you require working with them to get stuff like cop cars to film and stuff like that. And it means they get certain kinds of representation, and they don't want certain kinds of representation. And I think like an LAPD cop, they would have had to have her no longer be part of the police department because you wouldn't want the police department to be your adversary for a season of a television show. Like that would just make your life so difficult to shoot. It would be, it would actually be like so hard to get all those like the required stuff. So I wonder if it's interesting. I think like that they definitely should have done that from like a editorial perspective. But
like add her beyond to them. But you're right. I would have never thought about that angle of it. It's just so weird. It was just like this character that like stayed like Play-Doh.
Yeah, Summer, I think a lot when I see Kate scenes, I think a lot of I forget what you said like halfway through the season when you're like, she probably got like a 10 episode order. That's why she's in this. Because there's so many episodes where it's like, we don't even need her. We don't need her.
You're right.
Yeah. No, when she signed for series regular, I bet her reps were like 10 guaranteed. Because they do that.
Right.
It's either all episodes or 10 out of 13.
Because like there's so many episodes like this where it's like, why is she here? Like, what are we doing?
It's funny because she's always doing the same thing, though. She comes out of the corner and she's like, why are you here, you vampire angel? I hate you because of my dad. And then she like leaves. And that's it for the episode.
So let's move on from Kate, because so I actually do like the next scene of Wes and Cordy discussing Angel. Like I do like the thing I like is sitting with these characters discussing what's going on, and I like that we're kind of like Wes is like, I'm worried because Angel wasn't upset when I said the prophecy said he was going to die. Like he does not care. Like I kind of like that. Right. I like seeing them. I mean, you mentioned this before, Summer. Angel, he was exciting on Buffy, but there wasn't that much to him. It was like Buffy is his love interest. He is her boyfriend who helps her fight. So we didn't get a lot of this, where characters are just...
This is, I think, what drew me into Angel, though. These bits like this.
Yeah, because it works, right? It really does.
Oh my God. I ate these bits up, like, all the time.
He's so great. He's just such a great actor and he can carry anything. Like he has.
I mean,
he's carried like 5 shows. Like it's insane.
Well, he's also he knows what not to give us because we can project things onto him. Yeah. And like you feel he gives main character energy, which in some sense requires you to know what specifics not to give us, because sometimes his non-reactions or even his big reactions hit a certain note, but he holds it back. Like there's a level of mysteriousness to like why he makes choices he makes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like it.
He doesn't let you all the way in.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And he's so hot that you want in.
Yes. Like, who are you?
I can make you open up.
Wow, that's a good trick. Maybe that's why he's been so successful.
Well, it's like a pop star. Sometimes you don't want it's better not to hear from them.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's a genius. Maybe that's not.
I was thinking, like, while he was going down in his elevator again, and they're like talking about like how he doesn't want anything in life. I was like, how I felt like that became like a character block for a lot of male, tall, dark, and handsome characters in like the 2000s, where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm incredibly boring, and like the whole thing was like, oh, I need to bring him out of the shell because he's so boring and broody. And then like,
Cordelia says, oh, he's cool.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's our idea of cool, is like, oh, he doesn't want anything, he's not vulnerable, he's not connected to anybody, he's just completely cut off and dead. That's cool. And it's like, that was kind of cool at the time.
I was like, what? How is that cool though? Like, he has no personality. Oh my gosh, I need him. Like,
well, at the time, I like looking back at it, my idols at the time this was airing were the Beckhams. You know what I mean? Like, there was a cool like guy who fucking gave no shits about anything, has never smiled in his life that I wanted. Yeah,
that was the vibe. Then
that really and Jason, as someone who has known me for a long time, that kind of is what I would go for, isn't it?
Yup.
Definitely. I was like, oh wow, this guy's mysterious. He doesn't give me any attention. I want him.
Because I feel like it's a juxtaposition, because you wouldn't ever see like Angel doing like a sushi making class, but if you did, it'd be super cute because he wouldn't do it.
Right? Yeah. And Ryan, it's funny. I made a note of that because I do like that Cordelia just like, oh, Angel's cool. Like I like that. She just says it out loud. Like, it's so silly.
Yeah. Also, I'll say this. As someone who is no longer cool by any means, but was cool in high school, it is funny, too, that, like, Cordelia has this classification in her head of people who are cool and people who are not cool. Because it is very much one of those things that, like, people who are popular in high school forever have to rid themselves of. And you can see during the episode, she kind of has to do that, too. I love Cordelia's journey in this episode where she starts out being, like, not caring about things is cool, to where at the end of it, she's like, fully like, we have to help everyone. And it's like, yeah, that was my journey too.
It's also how much she cares about Angel, because like she goes and buys like I don't know how much worth of like art supplies that
that
I could not see. You know what? I take that back. I was about to say I could not see Angel using those, but Angela's was quite the artist.
He was. Remember? He did that really good drawing of Jenny Calendar after he fucking killed her.
And it's also a very Cordelia thing to do, to be like, through aesthetics, I will access my vulnerability. Because like, especially what I meant earlier when I meant like she had a classification in her mind of like cool people and not cool people, is that like when you think you're cool, it's because you think you're not vulnerable. You're completely protected. You know what I mean? And there's this idea that like other people who've made themselves not vulnerable, okay, they understand. They have like, you know what I mean? And I think they really understood the mindset of a young 20-something who's realizing some things about the world that are like counterintuitive. Like being vulnerable or being like open or creative or any of these things are connected, and they're way more important, you know?
Yeah.
Ryan, that is so true. Now I'm thinking about Cordelia's journey and like when she started getting made fun of for dating like Xander freaking Harris. And she was like, this is my vulnerability because I actually care about him and I care about something. And now like people can tear me down. Damn. Yeah.
Oh,
I love her so much.
I know. She's so good.
So yeah, and Wesley uses the donut metaphor to get her to realize. And I love when Angel shows up that like, Cordelia's trying, right? And she's like, do you want a puppy, a plant, or an ant farm? I think that's so fucking cute. Wesley they're both kind of like telling him he should go consult the oracles. He's a little bit more aloof. A thing this season does that is a little bit unbalanced is Angel sometimes is more aloof than others. You know, like early on in the season, like episode 3 or something, when he has this like wacky disguise in his car and he puts on like a Hawaiian shirt and an accent. And like,
that's
right. It's like, what the fuck is he doing? And he's just doing this. This is for him. It's not for anyone else. He's doing this for fun. But then like, you know, there's the episode where Cordelia's like, are you happy? You can tell he's happy when he's less scowly.
Angel's low-key an improv guy.
The thing I do like is that Cordelia is very good at reading him, right? Like, and I don't mean like in a bad way, but she's just like, she kind of gets his different moods, right? Like, and she can conform to them, if that, not like conform, but like she knows how to deal with them. Like, she's like, oh yeah,
she's just not intimidated by him. Yeah. She takes him on his terms and like doesn't believe that there's like some secret sauce to why his emotional states are the way they are. She's like, I understand what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, I get it. And I just disagree. Yeah. and because she looks at him and says, I understand you in totality, he hears it differently because I don't think he ever gets that from people. Yeah. He always just gets the like, you know, your mysterious hero guy. Wow.
Yeah.
And controversially, like, I feel like she had a different, like, meeting Angel and getting to know Angel was completely different than how, like, lovey-dovey Buffy and Angel were together. All of theirs was about, oh my gosh, we're so depressed, but we're together. Whereas her, like she was always, like, for the most part, happy. Yeah. And it was like seeing it from a different point of view and getting to know him and getting to love him in a different way.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ryan and Alastair, both of you saying all that, Summer, it brings me back to, I'm like, shit, that's very Margot too.
I know they like borrowed so much from her,
because like the understanding but not being intimidated like other people, like, right, that's
yeah,
she's never intimidated.
Yeah
She's like, I belong wherever.
So they like split up and we cut to the oracles, which also, Summer, whenever I see the oracles now, I just think how the guy is the one that did your headshot.
Oh my God, yes, okay. And then like, then they're dead, and then they're like kind of holograms, and the makeup looks even cheesier. Like, wait, but hold up, I didn't even see the male oracle. Because I know they talked to the female one, and she was like, he's dead.
I think
like, yeah, it was a different body.
He must have like because he's only in the scene when Voka goes there, but then we don't see him again. But they're like, oh,
right. Then we don't see
I feel
him
like
again.
he probably
like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I got a business to start, and I got a headshots to take.
I gotta go take Summer's headshots, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I gotta go help the star be born.
Lessons learned. They need security.
And like, I like the Oracles. I really wish they hadn't killed them because they are so like fun camp.
But see, this is where I was just like, okay, what's about to happen? Like, this is where I was like, all right, this was the point of the episode where I was like, okay, all bets are off. Like, what's gonna happen now?
Yeah,
and then it just kept getting worse.
Yeah.
See, I love that they did that because I think what Buffy does so well is the heightening of Marvel has a tough time because they went right to God power. And now they're like celestial beings, multidimensional, and you're like, all right, well, good luck in 5 years coming up with something else. They did a good job to be like oracles, which is like I have a connection to the powers, but I'm not the powers.
Yeah.
Which is like, so it's really scary when we see them killed because they've been on this like mountaintop all season. But when you think about it, it doesn't really raise the stakes that much because they can be replaced. There can be similar beings. But in the moment on the show, it's a real like when Darla shows up, it's like a real like, holy shit, drop your cup moment. And it's fun. And I this is another example of they had so many plot contrivances to deal with, so many network notes, so many things they had to touch, actors they were going to try out for one scene, that David Greenwald wove a beautiful script out of it is astonishing. And it really goes to like the point that I feel a lot with these shows, which is that making TV is different than making movies, and it's really fucking hard, and it deserves a lot more respect. And I think it's obviously getting it nowadays, but especially the kind of TV conditions they were making this show under.
Oh my God.
It deserves a lot of respect to make something that emotionally resonates.
Yeah.
Like,
especially those 22 episode seasons that we just don't get nowadays.
With special effects? Like, are you kidding me?
Oh my God. Can you imagine the hours they had to work?
Oh God. The funny thing that I've noticed from interviewing any of the actors from these shows is, I mean,
they're still tired.
Yeah. Yes.
they're like still fucking taking a nap, you know?
Like hearing them talk about like, because, you know, especially with the vampire shows, it would always be like literally overnight shoots. They'd go over on hours like every week.
I would crack. I would spend my entire summer at the North Pole or wherever it's sunny 24 hours a day.
Yeah. There was moments on The Magicians where I was like, I need to move to an island where it never rains because I love Vancouver, but it rains it wears on you, and you're like working in forests. I'm like, I need to be on a dry beach for years.
Yeah, and you're in costumes that aren't necessarily like for the environment, they're for the camera, so it can be cold and you're in a warm outfit. And like I just, especially these angel clothes, these makeups, like at the time I guess I was like, well, they're superstars, that's what you get compensated for, but it's like no amount of money can give you what sleep can give you.
I never understood why they always wore jackets on Buffy and Angel all the time, layers on layers on layers, and I was like, y'all gotta be so hot right now.
You're like, aren't you in the valley? Like, what? What's going on? I don't know. Maybe the rain is better than the valley. You know?
Maybe.
Shit.
Summer, I'm picturing you putting on that fucking eye patch and being like, oh, in like a forest in the rain.
Oh God, I wish there was like an outtakes reel of it. There's probably so much. I didn't make it into the outtakes that much, and I'm like, maybe I was so vulgar. I was like, that's it. I'm just so vulgar and so funny that they couldn't put me in too much.
It was so scathing. It would have just been a roast.
Maybe, but like sometimes when I'm like, oh, I haven't got my next series yet, I just remember how hard it is to be on a series, and then I'm like, you know what? It'll come, and I'll be wanting to sleep in and not wake up at 4 a.m. So.
True.
Do we think we have better work environments nowadays for actors on series?
I think it probably depends, right? I mean, it's so weird. Like, I don't have any, like, I mean, even movies were hard. Like, my first movie was so fucking hard to shoot. I was like 18 years old. I was in every frame of that film, I think. I don't think there was a frame that my character wasn't in. And I was like, I had never done anything really except like Return to Halloween Town on the Disney Channel, which was like a vacation in Utah with my mom, you know? And then I was like, this is what it means. And like by the end of it, I was this hardened broad.
Yeah, I have to think that like you can only do that at 18 for some people.
Oh, I don't think I could ever do that again because it was like an independent film too.
Oh yeah. At 18, you're just like smoking packs of cigarettes, like Jesus Christ.
No, I actually quit. Okay, because I was a teenage smoker and I quit so that I could keep up.
Yeah, you were like, I don't have the lungs for this.
I don't. I need my. I would come home from set and I would vomit.
Oh God!
Like I would literally, I would just like my mom would drive me home because I had just turned 18 and so, like I couldn't drive myself home. I was too tired. She would she would like get me home and I would like vomit and like then go to bed and wake up 4 hours later. It was so crazy.
That reminds me, Jason, remember when you trained for stunt school? Because Jason went to stuntman school and I remember you telling me how much you would throw up just from the training.
Oh my God.
Oh
yeah.
I feel like you would text me like, yep, threw up again this morning. Like,
oh my God.
Oh, we're good. Gonna keep going.
Jason, I forget. I think it actually might have been with Zach that I was referencing you being lit on fire. I was like, oh yeah, Jason has a picture of him like just lit on fire. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, from stunt school. He got doused in this stuff and lit on fire.
Pretty wild.
I was always talking about starting a drag school, and that's very funny to me because I always think like, oh, it would be so like the safety things you would have to put in place and blah blah blah. And then I remembered, oh no, there's stunt school. I can put people in heels and make them do backflips. Nobody cares. You just sign a waiver.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Cordelia, and this scene is so cute that she's shopping for Angel. I like that she's like, well, he's depressed. He wears a lot of black. I just want to get him a hobby. And then it's like those 2 giant bags full of stuff. This episode does a lot of like cute little things with their relationship. And I know I've said this a lot this season, but I really, really like that we concentrate on their friendship first.
Yes.
And I do think they do a good job with that. Don't you guys, like building up like how close they've become?
So I agree. But I think that this is the first episode that we start seeing that friendship possibly being another ship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. I agree. Like where it could be, but I think it's just something that like watching, you're like, no, they wouldn't do that. You know,
some people just have chemistry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's undeniable. They give me the vibes like sometimes you see, and this is so fucked up, but like the older Brady kids, they ended up making a joke out of it in the remake Brady movies because like Greg and Marcia got great chemistry.
Yes.
I actually remember when we had Jana Spenson on in season 4, they had to stop writing scenes with Allison Hannigan and Mark Blucas because the two of them had very good chemistry together.
Yeah,
they do.
Gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Because I remember I asked her, I was like, they have really good chemistry, like friend chemistry. And she said that they realized that very early on that their chemistry was like too good. And people kept saying like, ooh, are like Riley and Willow going to get together? And
poor Mark, that sucks because if they had made Xander gay, think of how great his career probably would have been. America's sweetheart, Mark.
Yeah.
But damn,
he's in a new Hallmark movie.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna watch it here soon.
I love him.
I think later I might watch a Lindsay Lohan one.
Oh,
damn, that one too. Yeah.
I like that all of you were like,
we're all waiting for it.
So then Cordelia, Voca walks by her, like touches her. She gets like all the visions. I hate seeing her like this.
Hold on. I have a problem with this scene. This dude walking up in his gold mask. No one turns an eye. What were they saying to the extras? Do not look.
I think
at this dude in a cloak.
I think no one can see him is what it's supposed to be.
Oh, I did not interpret it that way. I also thought, I was like, listen, I've been to LA. I live in New York City. I get it. But I would look at him.
Right.
I'd be like,
I get it, but I would look still.
I'd be like, what is she serving? Did we use a setting powder? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. I do not think they even tried hard enough to make it seem like you don't see
They
him.
didn't. But the only reason why I think that's what it is because when he touches Cordelia, she looks up and nothing's there.
Yeah, but if you watch it, she looks the wrong way when she's touched. So like it's like, oh well, you look in front of you, like, but no, she didn't.
Yeah,
and I'm like, did no one? And like, and one, they also had time to like. There was 2 very well missed jokes in this, which I know that's not Angel thing, but like when she was like, oh, he dresses in all black, you know, and stuff. It would have been funny if like the person that was the art, like, oh, like that, you know, and pointed to the dude walking up in a cloak.
That is good.
It also would have been funny if they had like put a bunch of performance artists in weird cloaks. You know what I mean? Like they could have gotten, I don't know. Yes, I guess it works because I watching it, I didn't even really think about it. I just thought like, oh, I guess she saw someone in a hood running away from her and didn't think twice. But you could have done something with it. But again, this is an episode where they had to dress up so many different contrived things, and they did a great job of that I'm kind of letting it go. I'm also letting go of the like giant tattoo on the hand as a consequence of my magic just going unnoticed or whatever.
Well, y'all are so much better than me because like whenever she touched her hand and she had her visions, my whole thought process was she had 2 huge bags of merchandise. And those bags she didn't drop them. I didn't see her drop them. She didn't have it in her hand.
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, that's what I was thinking about the entire time. I was like, oh.
You were thinking about where'd the bags go?
Did she leave the bags?
How is Angel going to have a hobby now?
I was like, you spent a lot of money on the bags. The girl was super happy about you spending all the money on the bags, but the merchandise is just left there.
You do see it like just sitting off to the side when they pan out for her screaming.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, they are just like sitting there. I do like. I kept thinking like how this feels very true to a city though, right? Like she's screaming, she falls into these signs, and people are just that's when it's like true to like LA or New York. Like they're looking, but
it takes a second. Yeah, it takes a second. Which is fair, but you would still look, you know,
but
you wouldn't ignore. You would be like, yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah, you would be like, oh, well.
Nowadays, I'd be like, oh, she's filming a TikTok. Great.
Yeah.
All right. So then we cut. Angel gets the call. Voka's walking around his apartment.
Again.
See, but
just walk right
that's
in.
Why I think it's like they can't see him. I think it's like, I don't know. But so he places a bomb in one of his chests. But Angel leaves.
Which obviously was very well locked. Angel might as well not even lock that thing. He literally just pulled it open.
Also, like, he could have kind of put it anywhere. It didn't really matter, right? It's a bomb. Like,
yeah.
No, but the scroll. I'm saying,
yeah, right.
He literally just walks up and opens the cabinet.
I'll be honest, that was a really nice cabinet.
It was, yeah.
Like a super nice cabinet.
And with all the weapons he never uses, it's fun.
Yeah.
He goes to see Cordelia in the hospital, and when everyone's like, oh, are you family? And he just says, yes. Like, without even, I was like, oh, I love this. Like, that's like shit I love. And I love that, like, I don't know. I think you're right, Alastair. They're like slowly hinting at it. And that had to have been the writers just being like, oh shit, these 2 actors do have good chemistry.
Yeah.
They're hinting at it, but that also like resonates with what he says what she says at the end. You know, it's okay. We're family. Don't be embarrassed that I'm like warming up blood for you.
Yeah.
But I also think the we're family thing, like it's a lot different because because at first on the phone, he says, I'm her employer.
Right, yeah.
But then when he goes in the room and sees her in pain, you know, like how real it is.
Yeah.
Like that's why the immediate, yes, I'm family. Yeah. Like I think he tries to play it off like, oh yeah, we're just, you know, I'm just her employer. But then like, you know, when it comes down to it, yeah, they're family.
Yeah.
It's season 2 soon, and they're family.
Yes. I feel like that was a thing. That was kind of the thing missing from season 1, right? Is like the family aspect, but we get there and we get there. Like, I feel like this is where Angel is like, oh shit, this is my family. I do care about these people.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, this episode, they take the stakes and the urgency and they're like, let me double it. And that's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and again, this episode, it was just like, oh, it's getting worse. Like, you know, like the oracles now, you know, were attacked, and here Cordy's attacked. I'm like, okay, we're good now, though, right? And then,
then there's more.
Here we go.
Yeah, and then so Angel leaves. He goes back to the office. We see Wesley. Wesley is in the office looking for Angel, and Angel is outside, and it explodes. Which my question here is, how many people died? Because, like, that is an office building, and they only had one office there. Like,
I mean, he works at night, so, you know, I feel like it could be assumed that maybe there's no one else there.
Yeah. I guess it's like when we worked at the Museum of Sex, Jason, and there were, like, on the upper floors, there were, like, other offices, but they were never there.
They were never there when we were leaving.
That's
like,
true.
I was thinking with the explosion that it is a little clean and stuff, but I think sometimes with these genre shows, especially on Buffy and Angel, they'll do something like a bomb because it's not something we want to follow up on as an audience as like fun. Like it's not like, ooh, someone did a magic spell or like used a power or like a laser from the sky. It's like a pretty regular thing. And similar to like Joyce having cancer, it's hard to argue with like it exploded.
Yeah.
And there's no like going back or like there's no, and I think they're trying to signal to us like just don't think that much about it. And if there was a victim, like don't worry, we would have told you.
That's fair. That's fair.
By making it more interesting.
He saves Wesley. The police and ambulance and paramedics arrive. They take Wesley away. I actually do like Angel uses his top voice in this scene, and I love it.
Oh my God, yes.
He basically tells Kate, I didn't kill your father, fuck off. Like, I felt like this also needed to happen because he was trying to be fair to her, right? Like, her father died, she's grieving. But, like, fucking, he didn't do it. So, like, and his friends are now...
He's also still showing a lot of patience.
Yes.
Like, he could have been a lot crueler or shorter or...
But I think he had just enough because, like, he has now lost everyone. Yes. And now she just shows up to yell at him.
Yeah.
And I think he still has just enough self-control where he's not, because it's the control of I have a soul.
Yeah.
But I'm still a vampire, like a powerful vampire, you know? Yeah. So I feel like it was just enough, but it's still
as close as Angel gets to shut the fuck up.
As close as he gets to emotion at all. Like,
I'm gonna use his technique now. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, I've been giving him too much in these takes. Like, hold back the good.
You want to know what I'm thinking or feeling? You give me 3 hours with you.
Yeah.
Like, are we giving him too much credit here?
We might be. Summer.
Works. Hey, if it works, it works, baby. A win is a win.
Summer, in your auditions, you could be like, and hire me to find out what my emotions look like with a wink.
Exactly.
It's also like at the beginning of the episode, you know, Wesley and Cordelia are talking about like what anchors him to us, what makes him real, and then both of them are in the hospital, and that's like, it's y'all that anchors him,
which is nice, and like I do like that we subtly or not so subtly like do show. Oh, he does. There are things holding him on to this world, you know, like
earnest Angel at the best.
Yeah, and I do really like seeing that. So then Angel to the hospital again. He's walking despondent through the hallways. You know, his two closest friends are now both there and unresponsive. I hate seeing Cordy like this, like just like freaking.
I know.
And they gave her the like I'm in the hospital makeup. Not fair. Never fair.
Yeah, Summer. So I feel like the like whole like screaming hysteria thing is probably hard to do, right?
Oh God, it's just you know what? It's physically exhausting.
Yeah, right. Like I would imagine,
especially in TV, right? Like you got to save that shit for the close up. And I never do. I never save it because I'm always paranoid that they're gonna like catch me at an angle and they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, she dropped it there," you know. So you end up like doing it like 10 times.
Yeah, and that's got to be like the only thing you do that day, right? Because your voice is shredded.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't. She probably had to go shoot like 10 other scenes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Probably
underwater.
Oh man.
So like
she was so good though.
Yeah, because I remember you told me when we did our Patreon episode that the like bit from The Magicians. I forget where it is, but like when Margot's pulled out of the carriage and you scream, "I'm your queen, motherfucker."
None of that was planned. And I cracked up the whole crew. They were like, "This bitch." I think like Hale and one of the producers like filmed it, and in the back, like on their phone, and in the back of the video, they're just like laughing, like, "What is she doing?" Candace was there that day, and I really wanted to impress her.
You wanted to look cool.
Kind of.
So we then see Angel sees the tattoo, which doesn't matter. We don't really go into that, but the tattoo kind of like leads him to the oracles, is when he finds out they're dead. But yeah, I would have even been into like the oracles as these weird spirit hologram thingies, because like she's still serving camp when he's there as a ghost, right? When she's like, "I've only been dead for a little bit and I don't like it." Like, I love that.
She's also wigging out, Mama. She is wigged. She looks like American Girl doll, honey.
She does. I just love their silly gold and blue paint. I don't know. I love it. I love it.
That woman spent hours in a makeup chair getting detailed work done, and we're out here like, camp. But it is.
She's like, "You know how long I sat in that makeup chair, motherfucker."
It's crazy because they were like a season 1 staple too.
Yeah.
But then like they're like, "Oh, read the script. I'm getting killed off. So like this is like my last thing."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh gosh.
She makes it work though. I mean, they did their job. So
So Angel, the like scythe that Voka used to kill them, he like pulls out and he like goes with determination. Does she tell him? I forget what leads him to knowing, or do we not care about that? I don't even know.
She told him a whole bunch. There was a whole plot dump where she was like, and then this thing happened, and then that, and like caught him up, and also the audience. But we already knew that from like having seen all of the show, so I think it just slid past her brains because I don't remember the details either. But I remember it happening.
Fair enough.
She said he's hiding behind the law, and then Angel shows up at a morgue.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, okay, a morgue. I don't know how this like. Okay, I just like.
I thought it was like the vault where he stole the scroll from. I thought that's where. I guess it wasn't. That was my assumption.
All right. So Angel goes to Gunn to ask for help, because I do like that once they introduce Gunn, they do use him, even if it's something like this where we don't see him again.
And they show him doing nonviolent good deeds, which I was like, all right, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And I do like Gunn has a very like breezy, jokey tone here, and I kind of like that with Angel. I like that. We like that gets less and less once he becomes more of a main character. But I mean, it's not anywhere near like Cordelia-ish, but it's a little bit that where it's like lighting a little fire under his ass because he's so self-serious. I like when other characters are not so serious with him. Mm-hmm. But it also is weird that we just don't see him again.
Well, it's also like, I'm thinking about it right now. When Angel asks you to guard the 2 people in his life that currently he like thinks is the most important, like that's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, because he could have called up Buffy.
Right, yeah.
If we're being serious. He has a nice Rolodex.
He's like, I'm going to break Faith out of jail real quick just for a few days. We get that, and then we get, what is it? Lila, Lindsay, and Holland. I do like they arrive, and he's like, oh, they haven't even gotten to the Latin yet. I like seeing like real world annoyances with a ritual and like
merging with the demon world.
Yeah,
kind of.
I do like that shit.
Yeah.
Voka is, we see this giant box. There's 5 vampires attached to it.
This box, Mama, the whoever did the prop construction on this, hell yes, it looked so good. It was so heavy. It looked so real. I say this as someone that worked in the art department on a game show and never got to make anything nice. I was like, damn, that must have been a cool week for a woman named Alexa who's got strong arms.
But you know, someone still has that box somewhere. Like that box is still together somewhere.
Yes, it's in someone's backyard, and when people ask about it, it's like, shut the fuck up, leave my box alone.
Not to call out Zachary, but while we were watching this, he was like, why are the vampires trying to pretend that they're not trying to pull the box apart? And I was like, Zachary, they're chained to the box. They're obviously going to be sacrifices for whatever is in the box.
And I gotta say, for the budget they had, I think it looks cool when they all dust and then the dust is swirling around, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it does look pretty cool.
All right, hold on. I have another issue with this. Here we go. I'm sorry. The thing is, I love this episode, so I had to find things I didn't like.
All right.
And here it is. Why did they put the casing to the scroll just on top of the box, just laying there, open? Why? Why did we do that?
You're right.
Not very respectful.
You're right.
Like, it seemed very careless.
You're right.
Like, this is an important scroll. Why do we put it here?
Yeah.
Why do we put the case here?
It's maybe take yourself seriously,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're giving you a 401k here. Take your work a little seriously. Clean up your workspace. This is embarrassing for the company.
Yes, clean it up. Like, you're about to do something awesome. Make it look good, at least.
So Angel jumps through do we call that a window? I don't know if we call it a window. Whatever the hell is on a mausoleum. That's, I guess, a window. Breaks through. Him and Voka have their inevitable fight. And I do actually, this fight is edited very weirdly. And I was wondering if, Summer or Ryan, either you might be able to speak to this. I was like, I wonder if this is like not a set and they actually film somewhere, because the fight is edited so weirdly. It's like they're afraid to ruin what's around them. I don't know.
I think it definitely looks like they break a couple things, and I did think like, oh, that they must have reshot this multiple times, because you can see different little flower holders are broken, and then they break some, and I'm like, oh, random other ones are broken, so maybe this is from like, we can only do this how many times because we only have so many flower holders. Right. But I also got the vibe that it was shot in a really small space, and they didn't have a ton of like continuity for the fight. Like, they couldn't track everything, so there's just a punch here, a kick over there, very Power Rangers.
Yeah, it felt like that to me too. Like, it felt like they were like, it's a finale and we can't make this like a 2-day shoot.
Yes.
That's fair.
I kept on thinking, why is Angel always showing his back to Voka? Because he kept on doing that so many times.
Yeah.
And Voka was really like a 1-episode shtick.
Yeah.
You know, there's no lead into Voka. He just like came in, and then we have maggots, and yeah.
It also goes quickly because the scenes where we're not fighting, sometimes the fighting is the meat of the episode. This episode very much wanted to get us past that, because there's a lot to happen in the post adventure, you know?
Yeah, that's true. So they like have their fight and then Lindsay steps in to like finish the spell.
Yo, and was anyone else hot?
Oh my
gosh. I thought that was such a commanding move. I was like, Lindsay.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, ooh, yeah.
I want to run my fingers through Christian Kane's hair.
It is good hair. It's like very of the time, but it still works for him, I think.
Oh God, it's probably baby soft.
Still wish he had a suit that fit him better, but yeah.
Lila's sidelined. He says, Lila, go check on. I don't even know what she's checking on. But she like steps out.
Lila, we're not comfortable with Angel punching you yet.
Yeah, so. Summer, I don't think you've been on a Lila episode yet. What do you think of Lila?
I love her.
Right? I love her too.
I think she's a badass villain. Yeah. And I like her 90s haircut.
It looks true on her, right?
Yeah, and her like Ally McBeal suits.
Yeah, I think like the way they style them is so of the time, but for some of them it still like looks good on them. And she's one of them that it still looks good, I think.
I'm here for Lila.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about Lila and Lindsay is that you see chemistry between Angel and both of them. So I'm like,
yeah.
She has
the Angel chemistry.
She has this like noir sort of sensibility, kind of like Gotham, like Batman the animated series. Rest in peace, my king, Kevin Conroy. She has this like sort of like, I'm your girl and I've got some things to say, with like her her hair is one piece. She's in like a suit. It brings a lot of gravitas and flavor to the Angel like palette.
Yeah. And she's kind of like winking at the like, I feel like she's taking the piss out of it. Sometimes,
yes.
Oh yeah.
like she's good.
She has like a good presence too. Like when you see her, it's like she's so polished, but like is like she's like good, like you said, Summer, a good villain.
She's cunning.
Yeah.
and she's lasting too.
Yes.
Like
I was thinking how weird that is.
She's a lasting character.
She lasts because she lasts longer than Lindsay, which I was like, oh right.
I thought her ending, I really not to get like completely off sidetracked, but I thought her ending in the series, especially after watching her develop in the first season, I thought that was going to be the entry to her being a full-time character.
Yeah.
I really thought Lila was destined for like DVD cover status because
Yeah.
she's so good.
Yeah.
Her ending was trauma.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that was a traumatic episode. I know we're not there yet, but that was a traumatic episode. I was like, she acted her butt off too. Like it was so good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good. There'll be time for crying later.
I'm about to cry.
So they complete the spell. They get the box out of there. Lindsay is knocked against the wall unconscious while Angel and Voka finish up their fight. We see the maggots on his face.
Oh.
Which are, gross.
Yeah, ew, gross. Dude, the whole time I was like, what's up with this gold mask, you know?
And then you saw
and then the maggots.
Ugh, I hate them.
I like thinking that it isn't part of his magical creation that he picked it out. He was like, I hate my maggots. And he went to a flea market and picked out a mask. And they were like, it looks great. No, it covers the whole
actually
thing.
the market he was at with Cordelia.
It made sense that his mouth was mostly gums. I'm not sure if they were trying to make it blood, but it looked like gums to me.
It did, right? Ugh.
Yeah.
Didn't love it. Angel then kills him pretty quickly. And then Lindsay and him have another face-off, which I feel like they hadn't had yes. And
sorry, had to get close to the mic.
Jason, I love that you are one of two straight men that co-host this podcast, and you are the strongest advocate of Lindsay and
because
Angel.
it's bromosexual. He can pick up that they're both straight guys who just need to get each other off.
Yeah.
They really do.
Whenever Lindsay sings, I'm like, what is happening to my body?
I know.
But you can tell that David Boreanaz and Christian Kane kind of have a crush on each other too.
Right.
You
absolutely.
can tell they spend a lot of time together having beers, joking about time on set. You know,
they go on a little lunch break or whatever, and they go to a restaurant and sit on the same side of the booth.
Not the same side.
God.
Splitting their milkshake at Crafty into two straws.
So I had a thought about, while we're talking about this encounter. So do we think, because, as we're talking about all of the things we're trying out, do we think they were planning on having Lindsay maybe be good in that change, but they were like, no, their chemistry is too good, and then we can't have another, Lindsay would be too strong for this team.
Especially the episode we just covered, Jason. It feels like such a
weird...
exactly.
That's what I'm thinking.
I wonder if they couldn't find a way for Lindsay to organically be part of the team. That made sense, but they were like, first off, let's do it for an episode. That sounds fun. We love working with Christian. And then they were like, listen, Christian, you're going to be back a million times. Look at Spike. Look at whoever. Yeah. It's probably more fun to do that than to try to shoehorn in something we're not sure can work. And it didn't end up coming to fruition, but there's definitely a world, I think, where they kept that card in their back pocket. Yeah, and I think a lot of the show is that. And it makes it sort of interesting that the choices they did make. What made Gunn stand out far and beyond Lindsay when they're both straight guys with strong presence. You know what I mean? They both had a similar dynamic to the group. And I guess they went with Gunn because it's he's also more unexpected, and they already have a lot of ties to Wolfram and Hart. So I guess that was well, we already established these relationships. Why not, if we need to make stuff up, tie in somebody?
Well, I think later on, when they've already established Gunn, when we have Lindsay, when we have everybody, on board, it would have been cool to him come back around. Lindsay McDonald did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And they also the show is about redemption no matter what. It's anybody can be redeemed if they really want to change. You can change. It's really hard, and you're not going to wash all the blood off of you, but you can change. And they do go into that a little with Lindsay later. We get some of it. It's just, it's never satisfying enough, which is probably for the best, because Angel's a show that always leaves you wanting more. Cordelia is a perfect example.
And Angel does it with his acting. We already know that.
Well, it's interesting, talking about Gunn and then Lindsay himself, where Gunn season 5 is in a very similar position that Lindsay was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost transitioned the character to what Lindsay would have been.
Yeah, there are archetypes that they kind of play out similar. Anya and Cordelia are in a similar boat.
Yeah.
And you've got early Wesley and Doyle in similar roles. It's they have ideas for things they want to play out, and I think it's why the show it sticks with its themes even when other stuff isn't working. And I think it's why the shows are so strong, is because you really do, they have cohesive things to say. They really do reinforce themselves. You can teach a college course on the feminism of Buffy because they keep coming back to feminism and revising their own ideas with different characters. Yeah. And I think that that's like the strength of it. But it does make it confusing because sometimes you're like, why can't Anya and Cordelia do a double feature episode? How fucking fun would that have been? You know?
It's also like weird because like they always like replace Cordelia with Spike all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's the correlate? It works, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does.
But like where? Like what was the thought process for that?
That's more like viewpoints. Like they have different voices that they use, and some of those voices are really Joss heavy, and that's where you get the Buffy speak stuff from. And I think Cordelia is one of those. Spike is one of those, but other ones are not as Jossy. There's like a Jane Espenson quality to the way that Willow speaks that in my mind that's the iconic dialogue of Buffy. Even though I know like in cultural studies it's probably not, but the way Willow speaks to me is just so. It comes from a place that's very empathy driven, which I think is sweet.
Well, I'm curious for Gunn if they brought other writers on board for that, because it seemed like a divergent.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with Gunn that I think the writers did not understand AAVE, and they just did not understand like Black culture, and they tried really hard. And I'm sure J. August Richards rewrote a lot of stuff on the fly. Yeah. But like, it's interesting because you kind of have to take Gunn as what he is, which is like this group of people wrote a character that they didn't have a ton of attachment, or if there was anyone in the room, which I don't believe there was. Like from what I've read from the Gunn character, it wasn't written in a way that was like write what you know. Yeah, it's not someone of authority on the show, so it's tough. Like you kind of have to take that storyline for what it is. Yeah, and be sure to note that it is what it is, but. It's another example where J. August Richards is great and the idea for the character is great. And it's similar to Kate. But at the end of it, I don't like this guy. And I don't think it's anyone's fault. It's just like these people shouldn't have been writing this.
Though I think third season Gunn onward, I really connected with.
Yes, that's when he gets
I loved third season Gunn onward. And I think that season 2, he was finding him. Well, we were finding out how to fit the character within the cast. Yeah. And then season 3, he was there. Yeah. Season 3 is just such a good season.
Really?
I mean, season 5 Gunn really gets me too. We're getting way off. Okay. We got to back to episode. Season 5 Gunn's great though, and we'll get there.
So Lindsay holds up the scroll and says, "This is the only way you can heal Cordelia. I'm going to light it on fire." And Jason, what does Angel do?
He cuts off his fucking hand.
He sure does.
So hot. So fucking hot.
Oh, wait. Here's my last problem, because I had to find problems with this episode. Here's my last problem of the episode. This is the other joke. Lindsay literally says, "We sever your connections to the powers that be." Angel cuts off his hand and doesn't say anything about what he just said. You sever my connections, I sever your hand. No, he said, don't
believe everything you read.
Yeah. Like, seriously, we didn't just, you just said, oh my God, I couldn't.
That follow-up was so missing. Oh my, I was expecting it too. And this is like my 5th time watching it. And I was like, oh, he doesn't say it.
Oh, okay. That's what you're saying?
You even could have had Lindsay say like, that was a bad comeback. And Angel's like, I cut off your hand. That was a really good comeback.
Like, you dated Buffy, the queen of comebacks.
Right.
And
this is another instance of Angel not giving us enough. Like he read that line and was like, no, I'm not doing that.
No, we're not giving you a Woody retort. So he cuts off his fucking hand, which I did forget is a thing with Lindsay, that he is missing a hand. And then he takes the scroll and he leaves, and we cut to the hospital. Wesley's reading from the scroll to heal Cordelia. It works. She says that she like has her. I don't know that we needed, the thing I don't know that we needed is her saying out loud the thing that we knew, that like she was like, oh, I saw so much pain. I want to help everyone. Yeah. Like I almost feel like, and Summer, I'm curious what you think.
Sometimes I'm like, the audience is dumb.
Summer, what do you think about that? Because I really feel like we get that Cordelia is transitioning and like changing. We don't need her to like say it out loud. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we kind of get it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. But I do like that then we like, I mean, you mentioned it already, Ryan, when we cut to like her feeding them, I do really like her saying, don't be embarrassed, we're family. Like, I know you drink blood. We all know you're a vampire. No big deal. Like, I think that, for me, that would have been enough to be like, look how much she's changed. She's literally calling him family.
Yeah.
What I don't like is when Angel says she's just not, I mean, that Wesley's not used to the new you.
Right.
Whereas it's like, oh, so she had like a complete character, like a
character rewrite.
Development, during this, which I get is traumatizing, but I felt like it almost dismissed how she was before that.
Yeah, I think that's Angel. Angel says, like, I like both the new you and the old you. I think that it's like Cordelia is doing, in a sense, what everybody does when they get older, which is like you get wiser and you're like, first in the beginning of the season, she's like, I want money and we got to get paid, bitch. Like, and then the second that you have any stability and you have a moment to breathe, you realize that that's not the most important thing. And like, to like what you're doing every day, to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning is way more important. Once your needs are met, is way more important than just extra paper. If you're a person I respect. And I think that you need both of those things. You need to meet your necessities. You need to be direct with people. You need to like get stuff done. And that's okay. It's just you build on top of that by having empathy and knowing when to hold back and knowing what to prioritize. You have to send your like clients bills, but you should have empathy for them before you do that. And I think she's realizing that. And it's the stuff that makes Angel work, which is the like, if Buffy is about growing up, Angel's about like being a grown up and having to like be a grown up all the time, even when it's not fun or like, and I think Cordelia's change at the end is that she just isn't, it's what she's not talking about. She's not talking about money. She's not talking about her apartment. She's not talking about what they got. She's not talking about like, how she's going out because you made me crazy and I had to lay in a bed for 3 days. I'm going to meet boys. Like that's what she would have done at the beginning of the season. And what she doesn't say is all that stuff. So yeah, she does gild the lily when she's like, we have to care about people. But I think for the audience at home, they might have felt like everything's gone back to normal because this episode of Friends is over, and that's not what's happening. It's more like HBO, where it's like, remember, Cordelia's different now.
Yeah.
I think that Cordelia, like this was a pivot for her, right?
Yeah.
So it was like a pivot in terms of like her career and like goals, where she went from like, hey, I want to be famous, I want to get an actual spot, to hey, we need to help all these people. And then we kind of explore that later on with the Cordy episode, which I love.
Yeah. So we get the nice little oop moment from Wesley where he's like, I read this wrong. Shanshu can mean life or death. And he finds out that it is like Angel could become human after they survive all these apocalypses, apocalypse. And I do like the closing of Angel being like, that'd be nice. And he's like trying not to smile, but is smiling. I do think that's like very cute. Right. And I do like Cordelia saying like, we won't break out the champagne yet. And Cordelia's like, hey, Pinocchio, this is something to celebrate. Like, we're allowed to celebrate this small win.
I have to say, I loved the Pinocchio bit.
Did, right? It's cute.
We get a lot of Pinocchio stuff from the Whedonverse, but it was cute.
It's cute.
So one thing about this scene and a few others, though, that I had thought about, because, it's been a while since I've gone through Angel, is Wesley always like hurt?
He does get hurt a lot.
Does he always have bandages on? I feel like that's just a continuing theme throughout the whole
Giles
series.
is always cleaning his glasses and Wesley is always cleaning his wounds.
You know what, Jason? I love that because I feel like people need to be more hurt in the Buffyverse, like physically. I remember being like, "Oh, when did Buffy
like you
bleed?
went through a window."
Yeah, everyone on the show is that clock from Charmed that they destroy every episode and then it's back in the next episode.
But so then we kind of end, and then we get a little kicker. We get our, closing scene of Lila, Lindsay, and Holland all entering the room of like secret stuff, and they're looking at the box and they're talking about it. Lila approaches the box and is like, don't worry, it'll all be better soon, Darla. And Jason,
1,000 gays screamed at once.
I don't know if you remember. The thing I always think of with this is when Jason and I lived together in New York and I made him go through Angel, I just remember him looking at me going, who the hell's that? Like you had no.
I literally was going to mention that. I was just thinking, do you remember when I was just like, who's that?
Because I remember being so excited for you to see the reveal at the end and you just being like, I don't know who that is.
I just love that Julie Benz got a comeback from this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I know she initially interviewed to be Buffy, but like, I love that they were like, okay, we got to keep her on.
Yeah.
Like, this has to be a thing.
She's so good, though. She's another
So
one that has
good.
like such a good presence.
Oh, absolutely.
And honestly, we've already had so much of her from the flashbacks.
Yes.
At this point, that you should, like, for the most part, recognize her if
Jason.
if you've gone through like
I
the whole
didn't
thing.
recognize her. I looked because you see her before they say Darla.
Yeah.
And I saw her. I was like, who the hell's that? Like,
I will say though, without the hair and the schoolgirl outfit, it might have. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
but because I remember Bear being so excited for the ending. And
I was like,
they should have had her speak.
They should have.
Her voice is so iconic.
Yes, her voice. That would have been.
I've been reading all this stuff about they're doing AI voice changers where TikTok started to roll this out where it's like a face filter, but it's use someone else's voice over your voice. And the goal of that technology is that we all sound like Julie Benz. Every single one of us.
Honestly, I also wouldn't have been upset if she been spawned with great hair. So
that's what I'm saying. I don't think they needed to do the whole
naked, dirty. Yeah.
You know,
Lila had some mousse ready to go. She was like, "Come here, girl. Let's get you in your Girl Friday outfit."
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the biggest thing I think of when I think of this episode, Jason, is you being like, "Who's that?" and me being like, "God damn it." But watch it. I will say to your credit, Jason, watching it this time, I did think, now I can understand why he didn't recognize her, because especially this season, we had only seen her in the Victorian dresses with the corset and the huge hair. That's all we had seen her in this season.
And some people are so beautiful, it's hard to identify them.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we're at the end, favorite scene, Summer?
I would say when Darla's revealed, just because it's such an exciting moment. It's yeah, she's back.
Fair. Jason?
You know what I'm gonna say. It's Lindsay and Angel. It's it gets me, you know.
Yeah,
every time
measuring each other's pieces. Yeah.
But just the because I remember being surprised. I'm like, oh, there goes his hand. He really did that.
Yeah.
And I thought it crossed the line too, when he injured a human, like that. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
Well, he wanted to make it personal, you know.
Oh, he did.
Ryan?
I like when Cordelia's shopping for art supplies. Would have watched 40 minutes of it.
Alastair?
I love when Angel held Cordelia's hand as she woke up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I felt it then. I was like, oh, this is going to work.
I think for me, it's a tie between the end where Angel and Wes and Cordelia, when she hands him the blood, I really like that beat. But also I do really like the scene of Wes and Cordelia talking about Angel and how they're talking about how he needs wants. I like that. This one's a little not great for it, but favorite outfit, Ryan?
I mean, not to bring it back to it, I really did like what Cordelia was wearing in that art scene, but I will go with the Oracle's. I'll give it up for their unforgettable outfits and the wigs.
Jason?
David Nabbitt's cape. Because we've all been there.
I like that you had that ready to go.
Oh, I knew. Once I saw, because it's the beginning of the episode, I was like, that's the one. I can already tell you right now, it's the one.
Summer?
I loved her choker at the end.
Oh, yeah. That would have been second favorite for me.
It was so cute. The tunic was also cute. It wasn't necessarily the outfit, but that choker was such a statement, and I loved it.
And her hair looks great in that scene.
She has such great hair. Through the whole... It's so thick.
Yes.
When she's screaming in the fair, I thought, man, she knows the angles. She knows how to find the light. Her chin, her jawline while she's screaming in pain. I was like, damn, this woman is so beautiful.
I know. She's so gorgeous. And she wears everything so well.
I know.
Everything looks good on her.
I think that's I've said this before, but I think Charisma Carpenter and James Marsters are the type that both have chemistry with anyone they have a scene with and also look hot in anything they style them in.
Yeah. Kind of, right?
Yeah. Alastair?
Lindsay, I think he was super hot in this episode. I think that he takes a whole suit look, but also makes it down dressed and kind of earthy and you know.
I'll take that suit look. I'll take that suit look right off of him.
Summer, I'm so sorry that you're in this episode of a bunch of horny boys.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think for me, it's the same as Summer. I like Cordelia's outfit at the end. I think she looks great. What grade do we give the episode? Jason?
Oh, this I would say this is an A for me because this is what I think, getting through that first season, which I didn't hate at first, if you remember, Ian, but this at the end, even if I didn't know it was Darla, I was like, I want more.
Yeah.
And so this like set it up and I think it's because of that like families at the end, like that whole scene. I was like, I want more of this now.
Yeah. Summer?
I agree. I think it's an A because it's not that I didn't like the first season, but there were parts that I felt like I had to get through to get to the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like at the end of this episode, it's finally like, okay, we know what we are and we're at the good stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Ryan?
An A. I have to say, especially when you think about all the stuff they had to do, the giant checklists of shit they had to get done, like it's an A+ when you think about the like network notes and the constraints. Like that they pulled it off is crazy. That it emotionally resonates still today is great. Everyone's really like on their ball, on their A game. It's weird. I feel like I could. Even though this episode has to do with a ton of plots that you would have to explain, this is an episode I would air for somebody if I was like, you should get into Angel.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Alistair?
Zachary and I agree. It's an A. And I also agree. I think that we had a lot of good moments in this episode. And I think that some of the moments transcended the episode where like the Shanshu or the Cordelia thing coming through. But I think that everybody put their A game in this, and it honestly kind of like made me excited to like watch season 2.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I'm the same way. I give it an A, and it's not like it's a favorite episode, but it's a good episode. And it's a good finale for all the reasons all of y'all said. I agree with it. It very much is like, cool. We are more comfortable with what we're doing. I feel like the theme of the show, the characters all feel more comfortable here, more like this is what we will be doing. And I like that because I think the show gets infinitely better once it realizes, oh, we're going to lean into the ensemble cast rather than, oh, the other cast members are there sometimes, but it's mostly just Angel. Yeah. Because I don't care about like the monster of the week and what human he's saving from that monster. I care about the characters.
And it's a reminder that like Angel's not a problem. He just needs something to work with.
Yeah. And like, him just like saying he's fam. Like, I love that shit. So yeah, I very much same. I'm like now excited to get to season 2 with everyone. Thank you all for joining this recording. Thank you, Alastair, for filling in last minute for Zachary. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can find us on social media at SlayerFestX98. You can subscribe to our Patreon, where we have finished What If Season 1, Harley Quinn's Seasons 1 through 2. We'll be getting to Season 3. Any and all support is much appreciated. You can follow me at ENXCarlos. Jason, where can everyone find you?
You could find me. My name's Jason. Good luck finding me.
You fucking dummy. Ryan, where can everyone find you?
At Ryan Houlihan on all social media, and however you make Mastodon work. I know, but you probably don't. It's on my Twitter, which is melting down at the moment, but there's lots of links on my Twitter. It'll be a great graveyard landing page.
Summer, where can everyone find you?
At Summer Bishil 1 on Twitter and Summary Bishil on Instagram.
And what is your upcoming movie?
I'm in a movie called Four Samosas that hits theaters and on demand on December 2nd.
Woo! Yay!
Yay!
And Alastair, where can everyone find you?
At Alastair J. Patton on all social media.
And Zachary, where can everyone find you?
At Adventures of Zach and B on social media.
All right, everyone. Well, that was our Angel Season 1 coverage. I'm excited to get to Season 2, and we have one more episode left, which is the recap. I will see you all next time. Bye!
Adios.
Bye.